I could just think of you as a girl all the time, couldn't I? You could be Daddy's little girl.
I want to go with you wherever you go.
Do you?
So tell me about a future crime.
A crime in the future? Crimes of the future?
Yeah, what are the crimes you can commit in the future?
Oh my god, there are apparently so many that actually there's less. It seems like there's less crimes you can commit in the future now.
Oh, they're just more morally loose.
Yeah, like instead of getting blowjobs in like the back alley of a city somewhere, you'll have someone cut open your leg.
Oh. That's it? They just cut it open?
Well, it's like the world of the movie is really interesting because it's like we're at a point now where like humans have evolved to like not have pain receptors, or like they're greatly lessened so they don't feel as much pain.
Okay.
Yeah, so now like instead of like sex being the forbidden pleasure, it's like now like hurting each other and hurting yourself.
So it's just sadomasochism.
Pleasure. Yeah, literally. Like,
okay, wait, that sounds awesome.
like people like will have sex, they just perform surgery on each other.
That's cool actually. Can you imagine going to like a sex shop, but instead of like dildos, it's just like surgical. It's like knives. It's like X-Acto knives and
yeah,
steel. That's cool.
It was pretty cool, and they have like these like they look like they were designed by H.R. Giger, but like there are all these like weird machines that they like lay in, and like they're like surgery beds, and like someone will like be at the controls of like these like metal arms that will like perform surgery on them.
So in this future, technically everyone would know when you had sex, right? You'd come into work without an eye and they're like, oh, Jerry got fucked hard last night.
Well, it seems like it's not surgery that would like actually like harm you. It seems like all the stuff they would do are either like small cuts on your body, or like, oh, I guess at one point they'll make like permanent scars on one of their faces. So I guess they do kind of do that.
But essentially like pain becomes pleasure.
Right, yeah.
In
like
this future.
One of the characters even says at one point, like, surgery is the new sex.
I think I remember that from the trailer.
Yeah.
All right, that sounds very Cronenberg-y.
It definitely is, yeah. It's there's a lot of I guess I would call it body horror, but like none of the characters act like it's horrific what's happening.
Like it's normal in their society.
Right, yeah. Like it's just like but like what you see them doing is like they're cutting open themselves and like taking organs out, and the guy getting cut open and his organ taking out is like moaning with pleasure.
Okay.
It's really strange. It's that the main character is that guy who played the guy from Lord of the Rings who at the end of the trilogy
Viggo.
gets all those ghosts. Yeah, Viggo Mortensen, yeah.
Yeah, he's done a couple movies of Cronenberg.
Oh my god, I've been trying to remember that guy's name for like a week now, and I've been too lazy to look it up. Thank you.
He was in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3.
Ugh.
Leatherface.
Don't talk about that. I watched the stupid gameplay trailer today for the Texas Chainsaw game.
Yeah, what did you think of it?
I don't think I can ever enjoy a Texas Chainsaw related thing ever again.
My thing about that, and this is all I'm gonna say because I don't want to go onto a tangent about this fucking video game, but I think that like Friday the 13th, it works, right? Because like Jason's really goofy and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre, at least the first film, is a fairly tonally very serious movie.
Yeah.
And I feel like I don't know how I'm going to feel when Leatherface is getting teabagged. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when they're like default dancing on me. It is cool. They got like a lot of the original like actors to do like the voices and stuff.
Yeah, that because the hitchhiker guy sounded like it was the same dude.
It's him.
Wow.
And they got Kane Hodder doing the mocap for Leatherface.
Oh, weird. Okay, I guess that works.
So, I mean, I don't know. I'm fine with it.
I think our hesitation with it comes that it's still Gun Media doing it, so...
Yeah,
like-
yeah. I mean, I enjoyed Friday the 13th game a lot, but not for, like, fun reasons. Like, not because it's a well-made game. I think it's a very entertaining game,
Right.
but, like, fundamentally, I think it's very flawed.
Oh, yeah, it definitely is. And it's just, I was like, they have still not gotten, like, good animations in any of their games. Like, I was watching that trailer for the Chainsaw Massacre game. Ugh, the animations look so bad. Like, I get that it's an early game, but they look like what Friday the 13th animations ended up looking like.
What, you don't like their faces, like in Friday the 13th?
No.
That one guy's face was like, "Wah!"
Yeah. It's like all their animations they just do the mocap, right? And then they just like line it up with the model and everything and make sure there's no like weird clipping. And then they're like, okay, good to go.
Good enough.
And like they don't change it or like mold it into something that looks better than just regular mocap, like most credible games do. So,
Well, who cares about credible games when we have Gun Media?
Exactly.
That brought us Predator.
Yeah. All right, let's
Fun
get
timer.
off of fucking back to Crimes of the Future and Cronenberg in general, I guess.
You could almost say that if this Texas Chainsaw Massacre game is bad, it will be a crime of the future.
Oh my god. Yes.
Because the game isn't out yet, and then when it comes out,
That's
technically
actually
all
why.
crimes are crimes of the future.
Yeah.
They just haven't been committed yet.
That game is actually why humans in that world evolved to have
They don't feel pain.
decreased pain. Yeah, because it was so painful playing that game that like
Yeah.
the human body was like, oh my god, future generations, we have to reduce the pain that we can take, or else we're never going to be able to survive something like that ever again. You know,
Somehow the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game became so popular that all like 7.8 billion people in the earth
they all evolved.
played it. Yeah, we all evolved from it.
Somehow all of our human cells were able to communicate with each other. That's how horrible and of an emergency it was.
But would you recommend Crimes of the Future?
I mean, sure. It's not really a horror movie. It's like a sci-fi drama.
Well, he hasn't really been doing horror movies since like the 80s or 90s.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I knew that, which it was like being marketed as like his return to like that genre. But it wasn't really a horror movie. It was, well, I mean, horrific things happen to it from like your perspective. Like someone's getting cut open and like they're like moaning in pleasure. Okay, that's weird and horrific. But like none of the characters act like it's horrific. It's just kind of normal. Which I think is kind of like my bar for a horror movie, I guess.
No, yeah, that's like very similar to I think like Yorgos Lanthimos movies.
Mm-hmm.
Especially his early stuff like Dogtooth.
Oh yeah,
where
yeah.
the characters are doing like really like fucked up things, but like to them it's just like normal and they treat it like commonplace.
Right, yeah.
Or like a good example is in like Killing of a Sacred Deer when he's just literally spinning around with a loaded gun while his family is tied up with bags over their heads, but it just treats it as like mundane. Yeah, so I mean I'm a fan of that kind of style.
No, I would definitely recommend Crimes of the Future. I think my only criticisms of it really were like it was like similar to like the first Blade Runner movie, where I was like I was more interested in the world than I was the actual story being told. Yeah. Where I was like, oh, this world is like so interesting. I like the idea of this world, but like the story was fine, but it's mostly kind of like the Viggo Mortensen character just going to people and talking to them. And it's like all like very expositional dialogue. And then every once in a while he comes back home and he has surgery sex with his girlfriend.
Hell yeah.
Or she has surgery sex with other people.
Dudes rock.
Yeah, but I would recommend it. I had like it was a very cool world, and it was a well executed, interesting movie. I think the only problem you're gonna have is being able to see it anywhere. Because
news broke out today that Hulu grabbed it.
Oh, really? Oh,
but only in like I think like India, Canada, and like one other country. But that means hopefully they'll eventually get it for like America streaming.
Yeah, I hope so. It's definitely
or just use a VPN, which I might do.
Yeah, exactly. That's
but now
good,
I'm
though.
more interested in it because you know me. I like stories about like sadomasochism and stuff. Like Ichi the Killer is like one of my favorite movies for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
And you know all the fucked up movies I watch.
Oh,
there's one that I would like to talk down the line. There's this great movie. It's Austrian. Was it Austrian? I want to say it's Austrian. Called Dogs Don't Wear Pants.
What the fuck?
And it was a Shudder original. I just threw it on because I was like, I needed a movie to watch, and like the title like was interested, and I saw it was about BDSM, and I was like, okay, horror movie about BDSM, that's cool. But it's like basically this guy who like loses his wife and is like in the grieving process, and he accidentally walks in on like a BDSM session, and like the dominatrix thinks like he's the client, and like basically like hurts him, and then he like when he leaves he just can't stop thinking about her. And that, so it's like his slowly like getting into like the BDSM like lifestyle,
right,
and also stalking this woman, all while also like dealing with his dead wife.
Oh wow, that sounds pretty cool. Actually, I'm not gonna lie.
It's an incredible movie. It was one of those movies where like if you were put on a movie not really thinking much of it, and then you just had like a really cathartic experience. That's what I had.
Oh, I love movies like that.
And I remember because like that was around like COVID times. I watched it, and like we at work were on like partial hours, you know, because they didn't have enough work for us to do like full time, so we would get like random days off, and people like at work knew that like I'm a movie guy, you know, I have that reputation. So they're like, oh, what did you watch yesterday? Because they know I've just been watching like binge watching movies on my days off, and I was like, oh, I watched this movie like Dogs Don't Wear Pants, and as I said that, I was like, oh shit, now I have to explain to them that I was watching this like BDSM thing.
Oh god.
And this one guy just looked at me, he's like, cool, and then walked away, and I was like, fuck.
It made you sound like a weirdo.
Yeah, I mean I probably already have,
Probably.
but that was like, oh, I realized, you know, to me that's normal.
To most people,
I was
it's
the crime of the
definitely not.
future.
Yeah. No, I found that out early on when we started doing this podcast, because I think one of the first few episodes we did was that movie Titan.
Yes.
About that girl who has sex with the car. There's a really reductionist take on it, but that's the way I told it to my coworkers at the time. And they were really confused, and they were like, "This just sounds like a porn movie, Brad."
You telling me you're just watching porn with cars?
It's like, to them that just sounded like some edgy browsers video that you'd find on the internet.
It's just Bang Bros car.
Yeah.
Imagine like pitching that, like, you know, those like Eastern European movie or not, like those porno videos where it's like them like driving and they pick up some girl and like fuck her in the car. Right? But get this, the car fucks her.
Yeah.
Right?
And she has no idea. She thinks it's like a normal one of those type of videos. But then she quickly finds out that the car is alive. And
yeah, when a
wants to have
car
sex with
throws
her.
a penis.
Dude, that could be a perfect porn parody.
Of Titan.
Yeah, dude. Oh my god, that would be so awesome.
I don't think very many people would be looking up Titan porn parody. It'll be right up there next to like SpongeBob and Family Guy.
SpongeBob would be pretty bad. I do not want to see SpongeBob fucking anything.
Whatever you do not, or actually now that I've said this, do look up SpongeBob porn parody. You'll never unsee it. And I'm not talking like, ew, it's gross. It's the SpongeBob costume is genuinely disgusting.
Oh no.
Like it's something out of a horror movie.
Oh god.
So
I don't know if I can handle that.
good job for those guys for maintaining their erections during that. I salute them.
They're true professionals.
Well, so the reason we're talking about Cronenberg, because this episode is on his 1979 film, The Brood.
Oh,
which,
OMG.
Yeah, get excited. which I've seen before. I saw many years ago when I was getting like really into horror movies, and I was like, oh, I saw The Fly, and I was like, oh, I want to watch all Dave Cronenberg's other movies, and I watched this one. And this is your first time seeing it, so what were your general thoughts on it?
I really liked it. Yeah, I think it was super interesting to watch, and I did not expect the certain things to happen in it that happen. It's like it's very weird, which I really appreciated, and it had like one of the most unique like I don't know, I guess like killers in it. It's kind of reductionist to say them like that, but it was like I just did not expect the killer to look or behave like that at all.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So essentially, the basic plot is that husband and wife who are going through a divorce. The wife is in this kind of, I guess you could say, experimental therapeutic rehab, in like isolation therapy. Mm-hmm. And all while this is going on, there are murderous children running around. And that's about as much as I think you can say without spoiling it.
Yeah, and they look like DV from Tim and Eric. Awesome show, if anybody gets that reference. I don't even know if you get that reference.
I don't.
Okay.
But I'm just going to agree and go, ha 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 ha.
Look up what DV looks like. I'm going to edit it into the video of this episode for sure. But yeah, his name's like DV. He's like from one of Tim and Eric's like Christmas special things.
Okay, I see it.
You do?
Yeah. The really like puffed up face.
Yeah. That's all I could think of when I first saw this thing. And
they're also what really creeps me out, and I don't know why it adds a level of scary, but they're in like snow clothes. Like they have like the snow pants and boots and like the really like puffy jackets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought that was super weird too. And they have like wrinkly like hands, which like made it even more creepy because it was like they're like so small and like the clash of like such like juvenile clothing, and then but their hands are like so wrinkly, like,
and they just kind of gurgle.
Yeah, they don't talk at all.
It almost sounds like they can't breathe. Like, you know when you have the flu and your sinuses are all like backed up?
Oh yeah.
That's how they sound. Like
they're like a pug. They're genetically like inferior.
Yeah. Well, one thing I was doing a bit of research, and it turns out Cronenberg actually based this movie on his own divorce and custody battle for his daughter.
Oh God.
So, and then he also said that this was his most, like I said earlier, like narratively driven horror movie that he's ever wrote. So I wonder if those two things are linked. Because this might be like the ugliest divorce. Movie.
Yeah, this is,
and it's funny. He even said he got like inspiration after he saw like Kramer vs. Kramer.
Really?
Yeah,
that's so weird.
So he's like, "What if we made that movie, but we have little mutant children?"
that I wish I did not know that, because now I'm just gonna view this movie through that lens of it's just David Cronenberg thinks his wife is a bitch.
No, not just any bitch, like a psycho bitch.
Yeah, psycho bitch who controls people that can murder people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you think about it, it makes sense, because typically, like, during, like, even just, like, breakups, people, like, tend to, like, family members, friends, choose sides, you know? So maybe it was something like that, like, and also, I mean, they say constantly throughout the movie, and it's pretty much known through history is that typically in divorces, the wives win. It's always the guys are kind of in an uphill battle.
Right.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's also kind of a bit about that. You know?
That makes sense,
like,
I guess.
One thing, like, to try to get your, like, full custody of your daughter. But how do you do that when all of the family is dying from mutant children?
Imagine being a dad in real life and having to deal with that, the divorce, and then all of a sudden there's these like freakish mutant children and puffy like bodysuits running around killing people.
You just gotta beat the shit out of them.
Yeah, or they'll just randomly die. Apparently, like that first one did.
Mm-hmm. There's one shot that I really want to talk about. It was when he gets like the phone call. It was like after the first murder. Frank, the main character, gets like a phone call at work, and he like picks it up, right? And he's like, "Hello, this is Frank." And then the guy's like, "Oh yeah, I'm sheriff, blah blah blah." And he's like, "Okay, what's wrong?" And then it cuts to like the sheriff talking, and then the camera pans out, and Frank's in the room. Did you notice that?
No, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, it's like genius. Like they continued the conversation, but visually it's like, oh, Frank's there, and the guy's like telling him.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, damn.
That's pretty cool. I did not notice that for some reason.
Yeah, It was awesome.
A talented filmmaker.
I just wrote that down specifically because I was like, what the fuck? And Carolina's probably thinks like, oh, this nerd. She actually watched this one with me. She did not like the little kids.
Oh, really? She thought they were scary?
Yeah. Every time she saw him, she's like, no, 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 and then covered her face. So I was like, no, look, it's fun. As they're like bashing a woman's head in with a hammer.
They were, I will say, like, they are legitimately creepy looking. But, like, for some reason, that first scene when they, when you, like, I had no spoilers about this movie. Somehow I've never heard about what actually happens in this. So that
I was excited when you said you don't even know what this is about. That's why I told you just go in completely blind.
Literally, yeah. I went to see Crimes of the Future at Alamo Draft House, and I saw the trailer for The Brood. They had the trailer for The Brood playing before it. So I was like, oh, that looks pretty interesting. That's all I knew about the movie. Just that. And I'd heard the title otherwise. So that first kitchen scene right before that first kill, where you don't actually see whatever that little thing is, it's terrifying. Because like all you see is like it has like a weird puffy jacket on. You just see the sleeve of it and his wrinkly hand. And like it seems small enough that it can like go on top of like cabinets, like into the shelves of the cabinets.
Yeah, like the camera kind of like follows behind it, so you see its kind of trail of destruction. Yeah,
you see things like flying everywhere, and I was like, oh god, what the hell is this thing? It was like legitimately terrifying, and like, and it was they're even creepy when you see them full on later. Just it's a really well executed like creature.
Yeah, it's really cool, and just kids are already scary.
They really are. Yeah.
So just make them a little freak, and boom, you have something even scarier. I actually, I was reading about like the releasing of this film, and they had to censor it. And it was so funny because like this is like a quote from Cronenberg. He's like, "Oh, I had this shot that I loved of her licking the embryo and fetus."
Oh god.
So I guess in order to get it shown in theaters, they had to cut a part where there is a character who licks like a fetus. And like the logic of it was he wanted it to kind of be like kittens. Like, you know, like mother cats like lick the kittens clean after they're born.
Yeah.
But since they cut it out, they just showed like it getting raised to her mouth. And then nothing else, and then just like I guess some noises. It probably cut back to Frank, so the audience thought that she was eating the baby, and people were really confused.
Which is even worse than just licking it.
Yeah. So it ended up hurting it, and I guess Cronenberg was very mad, but that was the only way they could get it released.
Well, I was gonna say because I saw the cut on Amazon, and that cut had that scene in it where she's licking it.
Well, I think now, like, the rules have changed, so these are like just the R-rated version. But I mean, this is still like late 70s.
Oh yeah, right. So they couldn't get away with a lot just like putting it in theaters, and on future releases they probably added it in. I think I even watched the Criterion release.
Yeah, that's the one I watched.
Yeah, so that's they probably had Cronenberg probably had the input to put that in there.
But what I want to talk about, and I'm going to sound like an insane person.
Oh God,
is psychoplasmics.
Right.
All right. So psychoplasmics is something that is introduced. It's not real. I looked it up. I wasn't sure if it was real or not. But essentially, in this universe, it is a therapy where you can basically use your pent-up emotions and create like a physical, I don't know, say form, but maybe like bodily part, I guess, like a physical deformity out of it.
Yeah.
So like there's a character who was getting treated by the same doctor, and he developed like this really disgusting growth on his neck. Like it looked like almost like if you make a vagina inside out and then like harden it. And it's disgusting.
Yeah, that's
it's
pretty
genuinely
accurate
for me like one of the hardest things to look at in the movie. And it's just like this growth on this guy's neck. And that is, as he says, it gave him cancer.
Right. Yeah.
So I was like, I mean, I know that like it's real, like mental illness will affect your body, like physically.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that. That's why I have a lot of my belief is why I have a lot of stomach issues. I do, because essentially, like your parasympathetic nervous system, that's the thing that is fight or flight, right?
Mm-hmm.
So way back then, our parasympathetic nervous system was like amazing, right? Because you'd be sleeping and like a bear comes up, and your parasympathetic nervous system comes up like, hey, I need to redistribute energy in your body so you can either fight this bear or run away from it, right?
Yeah.
Problem is, we evolved, right? Our nervous system didn't, right? So I'll just be like, oh man, I got to make like a phone call today. That's when the parasympathetic nervous system kicks in and gives me the energy to run from a bear. And what it does though, and that's why, when you're nervous, you get nauseous, or maybe you have to pee.
Oh, sure.
First place it takes energy from is your stomach.
Oh, interesting.
And the muscles in like your bladder.
Yeah.
So it's basically saying, hey, you don't need that right now. I'm going to put the energy somewhere else.
Well, that's pretty cool.
That's why like a lot of people piss and shit themselves when they're scared.
That makes a lot of sense. That's interesting.
I learned a lot about that.
So this is actually based in some real science. I mean, obviously what they do in the movie is completely fictional, but it's at least has roots in what really goes on in the human body.
Because it is like our body can our mental basically like conscious and subconscious can create physical illnesses essentially.
Wow, that's pretty neat.
Like and something like they do in this film is like this therapy, you get bumps, you get like a rash, and in real life stress and anxiety can cause acne and rashes and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. I see.
Mm-hmm. Because like in my case, I went to therapy for a period of time, so that's how I know all this shit. Because I've experienced this. But essentially, like for like like I have all like my stomach issues.
Mm-hmm.
Like my stomach was like mostly inflamed because of all like the anxiety and stuff like that.
Oh, I see. Wow.
And where I'm kind of connecting this to the movie is cortisol. It's a hormone that our body produces, and it's the stress hormone. And
Okay.
it does a lot of things. It controls like your metabolism. It controls like your inflammation. It gives energy. It just does basically everything to like keep your body going, right? When you're stressed, though, you can create a lot of cortisol. So your body's creating this cortisol. Cortisol's going crazy. It's like, we have more energy than I know what to do with. Let's turn it into fat. Let's distribute it as fat. So technically, your own thoughts or your mental illness or whatever is causing this increase in cortisol is making organic matter. So in context to this film, it is kind of true. But the psychoplasmics is kind of taking that like a step further, you know?
Right.
And you look at like cancer. Cancer is essentially happens because your cells divide, right? It's natural. We learned all about that in Annihilation. But what happens with cancer, it starts to be like, hey, I don't know how to divide properly. So it starts dividing a bit too much. And then it creates the cancer, and it basically makes a whole nother cell entirely. And then that spreads.
Right.
And like this film, like this dude, through his own like mental whatever was wrong with him, but through this therapy, he created his own cancer.
Oh, I see. Interesting.
So hopefully I got all of that correct.
That
And
sounded.
I don't sound like an idiot. Some psychologist is going, oh, no, that's all wrong.
Somewhere out there, some guy yelling at you.
Yeah.
But that sounded all smart. That made sense to me. I mean, I'm just a layman. I don't know anything about any of that.
As long as I sound smart to the general man, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I'm about as average intelligence as you can get.
If someone tells me I'm wrong, fuck you. You know?
Exactly.
I'll default dance on them.
Yeah, and just to add something too, when you kind of see similar themes or like certain like things happen in each director's movie. Like they kind of like each movie you can see like something from their past
Personal
in it.
life. Yeah.
And in Crimes of the Future, there are people who do that who have an illness that is like what you're describing and what's in The Brood, where it's like some evolutionary disease, but basically it's like where you create organs that are supposed to be like new organs that like the body thinks will like help your body, but like we have no idea what they're supposed to do. Like in the movie, like they have no idea what they're supposed to do, so the body will just create new organs based on like what their mental needs are. And it's like, yeah. So he uses that again in this new one. It's kind of interesting to see like all these themes of that he uses. And they all revolve around body horror.
Yeah, well, that's what I wanted to get into next, and how to kind of connect this between like the parasympathetic nerve system, cortisol, and the psychoplasmics to kind of like his other stuff. Is Cronenberg loves the idea, right, of the evolution of the body. Like almost all of his movies are about that. And I was thinking about it, like of his big ones, like each one is kind of the body evolving from a different source, right? So The Brood is like psychology and mental illness, you know? The Fly, science, you know? We've created this device that will do this thing, and now my body has evolved due to this. And Videodrome is the exact same thing with as far as the new flesh, where society has changed, you know, values, morals have changed, which is causing this evolution in our body.
Right.
As well, until we eventually do create the new flesh. So it's almost like each of his movies are about sort of like the human evolution, but the source of what brings that on seems to be different.
Yeah. I think the one you could say maybe appears the most is probably science or technology like merging with the human body. Because I mean, I know just from The Fly and Crimes of the Future, where it's like that's basically what the whole movie's about, and like how like what point are you not human anymore? Like how much we like,
and that's like a very common sci-fi thing. I mean, like Blade Runner, Ghost in the Shell is really big into that, but I think like Cronenberg does it a bit more fleshy, you know.
Yeah, he definitely
like
does.
He's looking at like how it affects like you, like your human physical body.
Yeah, for sure. In very real and disgusting ways every time.
Yeah. I love like body horror is probably like my favorite subgenre of horror.
I know. I'm there with you. I can't really describe why either. Like
it's I think I know why we like it, because we both, I know, are big fans of stuff that's ambiguous. There we go. Ambiguous things. And I feel body horror almost always ties into cosmic horror. Almost like this idea of something so large that we can't really comprehend what's happening. Therefore, it's always typically ambiguous.
Oh, okay.
Because, like, if you notice, like, there's a lot of body horror and cosmic horror movies kind of clash.
Yeah.
So I think that's why we at least both are kind of fascinated by it. I also just really like gnarly gore. So, and body horror movies are always just, like, super gory.
Yeah, they definitely are. Yeah, like I would say Annihilation. I would classify that as cosmic horror. And,
that's cosmic horror.
Yeah, and that has a lot of body horror even in that movie, where it's like, I mean, there's lots. Like that scene where Oscar Isaac, you can see his friends like insides moving,
intestines.
Yeah. So I see what you mean.
It's like Color Out of Space. There's that movie The Void. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
No, I haven't seen that one yet.
It's pretty good. It's like a lower budget indie one, but it's pretty good. But yeah, it's like they almost always have like body horror involved. Overall, The Brood, I mean, I always like this movie a lot. It's not one of my favorite Cronenbergs. But it's definitely, I think, as he said, like his most horror movie goes, as far as like pacing and structure.
Yeah. That makes sense.
But it's a movie that I always tell people, like, just go in blind. Yeah. Because the twists are just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, you do not expect them if you've not heard of them before. It does a good job of being unexpected, which is I think anybody wants that from anything that they're watching. Yeah. I would just say I like the movie a lot. I definitely agree with you. It's not my favorite Cronenberg. The Fly is still probably my favorite. I'll put this over Crimes of the Future, though.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and I think my only complaints about this movie really are that I wish that the main guy character, Frank, I wish he was a little more interesting.
Yeah, I was going to say the exact same thing. He's very just like, he's your movie, man. He's your protagonist.
Exactly, which makes me think that now that when you mentioned that divorce thing, that he's like Cronenberg's self-insert character.
That's what I was thinking when I read that too. I'm like, did he purposely kind of make him like a blank template?
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what I'm thinking now that you've told me that.
Because his emotions are very like one-dimensional.
Yeah.
Just, I want my daughter. Right. I don't want you hitting my daughter. I want to fuck you, teacher. Where's my daughter?
I want to see my wife. I pissed at her for being a bitch.
Yeah.
Like,
just guy stuff.
Right, where The Fly, where it's, I mean, Seth Brundle in that movie he's a very flawed character. I mean, he has like self-esteem issues. That's the whole reason he goes into the pod. That makes him interesting. So yeah, I mean, that's relatively small things because it's a well-made movie and a well-written movie. But just like a bunch of little character stuff that could have been changed for me. That's all.
Right. Yeah. That's very fair. But I mean, compared to like the other movies, other just horror slasher movies coming out at that time, this one's up there. They're one of the better ones.
Yeah, this is I don't
know what genre I'd really put this in, other than I guess it is kind of like a slasher. At least it's structured that way.
I was thinking that too, because then
they
even use like different like weapons at certain points in the movie.
There's different kills.
Right. It's like it is kind of a slasher
finale. Yeah. As far as just like murder mystery, I mean, we know as the audience what's going on, but the characters don't. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's a very genreless movie. Yet somehow fits into a lot of genres. But for me, and I think people who are really into like psychology and how the brain and body is connected, is very interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's get into the plot. Spoilers ahead. So the movie starts off, we're introduced to Dr. Raglan, who is our experimental therapist man, and I guess he's like semi-famous. Mm-hmm. But it opens with him like being role-playing as a guy's daddy and them going back and forth. But then we realize they're in an audience.
Yeah.
And that's when like you realize, at least for me, I was like, this guy's a hack.
Yeah.
You know? If you're doing this in front of an audience, that's shitty. You know, like you're in it for the not that he wasn't, I mean, clearly we found out later he was actually doing things, very smart things.
Yeah.
But and at least for me, having therapy in front of like 50 people, no,
not for me.
You
either.
know,
nope,
it wouldn't work. There's a reason you're in a nice, comfy room. You know.
Yeah, no, when I first saw this scene and like that whole thing playing out and I saw the audience, I thought at first it was like some kind of performance art.
A play?
Yeah. Well, because even in Crimes of the Future, they do that, where it's like people do like fucking surgery on each other as performance art. I was thinking that was another thing that Cronenberg was pulling from.
Yeah, I think he like tied it in.
Right.
I don't know. For me, for like a realistic standpoint, it's almost like, why didn't you just record it and then show people? But I understand for dramatic effect.
Yeah.
You know. But essentially, Dr. Raglan is treating Frank's wife, Lola, and she is in isolation and not allowed to see anyone. And Frank is there to pick up his daughter because Lola is allowed to see them on the weekends because they are currently in the process of a divorce. And he brings Lola home and finds out that she's been beaten, which he presumes is by Lola.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes back and he's like, hey, Lola's beating my daughter. And he's just like, no, you can't see her. You can't talk to her. And he's like, well, what the hell? And so Haglin kind of talks to the wife, Lola, to find out if she actually did hit their daughter. And he role plays as like various, I guess, different figures in her life. Like her mother, her father, even as like Frank at one point. And we do learn that her mother was abusive to Lola, which is very common, like the cyclical cycle of abuse. You know, typically people who are abused end up abusing their kids.
Mm-hmm.
So Frank, I guess, takes his daughter to his mother-in-law's house, and this is where we get our first kill, where a little child breaks in, and when the grandmother goes into the kitchen, she gets her head bashed in with a meat tenderizer.
Yeah.
Which is pretty brutal because it's just like relentless.
Mm-hmm.
Like over and over and over. And Candy then does see the child and she like freezes up. And the police are like telling Frank like, oh, you need to get your daughter to talk. Like, we think she's seen something, but she's not, you know, she basically like repressed it.
Right.
So the grandpa flies into the funeral. He's kind of like distraught, even though they're divorced. But I mean, still, it's got to be pretty like traumatic to go back to like where you raise your family and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say so. That would like fuck me up.
Yeah.
Like,
and then I guess he went to the house And while the child that killed the grandma never left the home, which even like after this murder, the police are like, I guess we were never looking for something that size. And it's like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that was questionable to me too. I was like, shouldn't you be looking everywhere, regardless of what size it is?
What, you think the killer's a big man and he's still in the house?
Yeah.
We looked behind every door. We looked under the bed. We just couldn't find the guy. So Grandpa's getting drunk, and he gets his head bashed in with a glass balls.
Yeah,
I guess they were.
They're like crystal balls or some shit.
Yeah, they're like crystal balls. The kid bashes his head in, and Frank, who was already on his way over, gets there and finds the grandpa, and he sees the child, and they wrestle, and then Frank eventually beats the shit out of the kid and kills him. And meanwhile, this is happening. Frank had this Candy's, his daughter's teacher, over for dinner, and the wife calls the house, which she's not supposed to, and the school teacher answers. So the wife gets all mad, like, "Oh, you know, you're fucking him. I hate you." Blah blah blah. So her mental state, already not good, is now made even worse.
Yeah.
So Frank goes, and also okay, this is one thing in horror movies like this that always get on my nerve, but I'm like, whatever, I just let it slide, is why do they always let these random people in on like the autopsy and stuff like that?
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, to the police knowledge, this man strangled a child, a little deformed child. You know, that he should be the one getting questioned, right?
Yeah, no,
But they're
literally.
like, hey, come check out the autopsy. Let me give you all this classified information. And also, it's not just like, oh, it's a kid. It's like a freak. Like, they're even just like, he doesn't have sex organs and he doesn't have a belly button, meaning he wasn't birthed. Like, from a mammal. You know?
Right.
Like, so that's something like I feel like should go to the government. You know?
Yeah, I was thinking
It's
that too.
Bigger.
Like the autopsy
bigger than
guy
that.
is like he's like describing like the anatomy of it, like he's like he came across like a lizard in the desert or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it
an
was very
organism they've never
mundane.
seen before.
Right, yeah. It was like, shouldn't you be calling in like big head guys like to come in and look at this fucking
Dale
thing?
Cooper should be coming in.
Yeah, literally. But it's a Blue Rose case.
Yeah, never blew her. But the next day, the school teacher is in class, and this is the scene that always stuck out for me. Is basically two of the little mutant kids sneak in, and they get these like toy hammers, and they just bash her head in front of all these kids just watching, and they don't know what to do.
Yeah. It's like- and I also liked how in that scene too, when everyone in the room realizes that those two little freaks are there, and then all
Yeah.
the kids just get quiet and stare with their mouths open.
Yeah,
and then
like,
start
what do you do as
bashing
a
your head
kid?
in. Yeah,
You know?
I would be terrified too. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and I like the noises the hammers make. They're like, I don't know, they sound almost like Looney Tune sounds.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I was thinking that too. It was great.
But and then the kids take Candy. Frank realizes, Candy's missing, so he's like, okay, it was definitely the mom. And that's when the doctor basically tells him everything that's going on, that there's this barn out and back, and basically that his wife Lola has been creating these little children just from her emotional anger. And that Frank needs to go inside and calm her down so the Dr. Haglund can go and in the room with all the children and get Candy out. So
Right.
Frank is like, sure, I'll do it. Even though I don't know why you would send in the woman's divorcing to calm her down.
Yeah,
Whatever.
that I was thinking that too. I understand why from a story perspective you want to do that, but
But you think it would be Dr. Haglund going in there? a
Yeah.
guy who knows how to handle this situation and send the dad up to get the kid, but whatever.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, could you just switch? Why does
Yeah.
he have to go in to save the girl and you, the person that she's probably the most mad at in this world?
Yeah.
to go.
Send him in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Frank goes in there while Dr. Raglan's up there. Turns out it doesn't go good. So Lola reveals, she opens her dress, and that's kind of like the highlight of the movie, or that's where it's the most Cronenberg, where she has this like embryo kind of out of her. It's like this gooey, like bloody flesh sac connected to her stomach.
Yeah.
And out pops this little baby, which she then licks clean. And of course, Frank is like, "What the fuck?" and gets mad. And that causes all the kids to go crazy. And Dr. Raglan blasts some of them with his revolver. And some of them go like flying.
Yeah, they do. They're just on the ground.
Yeah.
brutal.
And they end up killing him. They just tear him to shreds with their little hands. And they're like biting him and stuff. And Candy sees. So once again, another traumatic experience.
Yeah.
And Frank just strangles Lola. He's like, "I'm just going to kill you." I guess that's the logical solution.
Yeah.
He just sees something not right and unnatural and just says, "I'm going to kill it."
I'm going to choke you out.
The American way.
Well, I mean,
We don't understand it. We kill it.
To be fair, she did say that she was going to kill his daughter.
Oh.
So
Okay. There you go.
He didn't really have much other choice. Like, he did not
But I
have
don't think
enough
Frank
time
made
to-
the connection that all those little kids were like alive because of her.
Oh, that they would like all die when she
Yeah.
died. That's true.
'Cause-
Yeah, he didn't know that.
Earlier in the film, though, one of the patients called Lola the Queen Bee, which is why this movie's called The Brood. Because the Brood is like a swarm or colony, a family of bees.
That makes sense.
So, and that's another thing. Queen dies, they all die. So that's exactly what happens. Lola dies. All the children die. Frank goes to get Candy, and she's like traumatized. And on the drive home, they show her arm, and she's developed bumps, like the same bumps the other patients have in that hospital.
Oh my
So
god.
it's safe to say the trauma she witnessed has taken physical form, so she's probably going to be like her mother.
Yeah. That's what I think is implied there.
And that's The Brood. So it does end though like typical like slashers of that time, where it always ends with, "Oh, but wait, the thing is still alive." Or it can come back, you know?
That's true. This is basically a slasher movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's pretty safe to say it's a slasher. I don't see any other way around it.
It's structured just like it. We get our characters. Characters are killed off one by one, each in different, like, various ways with different weapons. You have like the final confrontation and the big reveal. You know, the main character gets out, and then turns out the thing that he thought he killed is still alive. So that's kind of like just the go-to formula.
Which, by the way, can I say I don't mind it in this movie because it actually makes sense. But like in a lot of other movies, oh my god, do I hate that cliche, dude? It's
What, the
just
ending?
worst. Yeah, like we're at the ending where it's like you think everything's fine, but then it's really not, and the whatever
know what?
is still around.
I think it's fun. It depends on the movie, right?
Yeah,
Like,
it depends on the movie.
Hands down, the best one is Halloween, right?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Yeah.
Easily the best one, because it's not stupid. It's like semi-realistic, you know?
Yeah, it makes
Not
sense
like the-
with the story they're trying to tell. That's
Yeah. Not like other later franchises where they just like blow him the fuck up. And then the ending is just him walking out. And you're like, "Oh, okay. Cool." You know?
Love that.
Or I guess like this last one where he just appears.
Oh god! Oh, in the house behind her daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know. I like that cliche more in just like a fun campy way.
Okay. I can
But
see
I
that.
but also what I like more though is when movies just end right at the climax. like like Sleepaway Camp is a perfect example.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
you don't know what the hell happens after that. You just see the most traumatizing thing ever and the movie ends.
Yeah.
And they're like, "All right, pack it up. That's it."
Yeah, all the characters just standing there, like shocked, as shocked as the audience is, I'm sure.
Or like Suspiria has Susie running out of like the dance school mid explosion and then just credits roll.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And it's awesome.
yeah.
It's just like, I don't know, just something about when a movie just ends at the right point. And especially when it's like sudden, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my favorite type of horror movie ending.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a favorite. It's just like, yeah, because now that I mentioned that I hate that trope where at the end where it's like everything seems fine, but then it's not. But then we just came up with a whole bunch of good examples where that works, and I'm not sure if I actually do hate it.
Let me. I'll rephrase that for you. You like when it's done well.
Yeah, when it makes sense. Yeah.
You don't like when they're just like, oh, we're gonna make another one, right? Yeah, we just in case. Let's throw this in.
Yeah, I always hated the Nightmare on Elm Street one, the remake, that is.
I
Where-
never saw the remake.
Oh, God, yeah, that one is awful. That is one of those kind of endings, and it means absolutely nothing.
Yeah, when it adds nothing to the plot or anything. I mean, I understand. I believe that in order for it to be a horror movie, it shouldn't have a happy ending, right?
Right.
It can have an ending, but it shouldn't have a happy ending
Yeah.
or like a good ending. You know?
Yeah, at the very least, it has to be tragic.
Yeah, a tragic ending is kind of like the best thing. Like maybe our character got out alive, but at what cost?
Right.
Or our character got out alive, but they have just become the exact thing they were fighting. Something along those lines.
Exactly, yeah.
Which kinda is this, but unbeknownst to Candy.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I think it's valid in this context because she isn't necessarily like, we can't pick traumatic events, right?
Yeah.
Like we can't choose when they come, how they affect us, and that's I think very similar situation to this. You know, it's not like Candy's gonna come home and just start spitting out kids, right? This is like gonna be like years upon years of brooding,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
So Cronenberg gets a pass from me.
No, yeah, I definitely like this ending. Yeah, and it's interesting because we don't know how long those little freaks, how long their lifespan is, or how long they take to grow to that state.
Yeah,
So it's like,
because
it could be years for all we know.
yeah, because the doctor said something along the lines like about like their organs. Like I don't think they're meant to live. Like they're not made to grow. I think any bigger than that.
Right. Yeah.
Like they just kind of serve their purpose and die.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean clearly because he was saying like what that's why they were like breathing so harsh because their body just isn't well constructed, which would make sense if they were just little hate babies.
Yeah. I was gonna say that ties in with the theme of like the cycle of hatred going on. Which I like. I really like that. I like that they don't really explain how the mom is able to do that, like able to like just like make hate babies, because that's not really important. It's,
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
yeah,
She can do it.
The emotion of it and the theme of it is the most important part, because it's like it's allegorical, like to what happens in real life, obviously, where the
Right.
mom passes down that trauma to their kid, and their kid isn't doing hateful things, just kind of keeps going and going. And that's why the ending works, is because that's exactly what's happening. That girl's been through so much trauma and she's seen so much hatred and violence that it's going to corrupt her, and she's probably going to end up the same way as her mom, unfortunately.
Yeah. And there's your tragic ending.
Yeah, very tragic indeed.
So it's safe to say we both love The Brood.
Yeah.
I like this movie a lot. You can actually watch it right now. It's on HBO Max. It's also, I believe, on like the Criterion Collection.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I was looking at Amazon and it was there, and I was like, oh damn, I gotta pick that up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw they had this for a while, which is weird because it's not like a typical Criterion release.
Yeah, I thought it was weird because I don't think The Fly is on Criterion, is it?
No.
Yeah, and I feel like that's like a.
But Videodrome is.
Oh, it is. Oh.
I think. Well, I know Criterion. They typically like to get things that maybe don't have like a big distribution.
Oh. Okay.
And then they're the ones that get it out because that's really all they care about is like the preservation of film. So like The Fly is like a classic. You could probably get a DVD or Blu-ray of that anywhere, you know?
Right.
But finding like The Brood or Videodrome may be a bit harder.
That makes more sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So good job, Criterion.
Yeah. Good job.
Good job.
Now release Lost Highway on Criterion, and then we'll be good.
Hey, we got Inland Empire coming out soon. I think next month.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, the Criterion for Inland Empire comes out.
What the frick? I need to pick that up.
Yeah, I think it might even be 4K.
Dude.
What?
Dude, what the hell?
Okay, that's kind of whack, actually, because isn't that movie shot on fucking, like, video,
I
shitty
think I
video?
might be a liar. Well, I know people were saying the same thing.
It's like, there's not much upscaling you can do
4K,
from a shitty video camera.
Ultra HD, brother.
Oh, my God. I wonder what that's...
Janus Films, new 4K restorations.
It's going to be, like, crappy, like, digital upscaling. I guarantee it. It's going to be like AI upscaling.
I think that's exactly what it's going to be.
Yeah. That doesn't sound like the best.
But you're going to pay
ever.
$40 for it.
I probably will anyway, yeah.
Give me Love on a Leash Criterion Collection.
Oh, that would be so awesome. Dude. Or The Room, Troll 2, any of those. They need bigger,
no, I feel like though The Room actually has
distributions.
merit to be on the Criterion Collection.
Does it?
Of how culturally significant it is, yes.
Oh, all right. That's fine, I guess. Yeah.
You know?
It's definitely significant in internet culture, for sure.
The Room is still playing in theaters. You know what's not? Citizen Kane. You know?
Yeah. Tommy Wiseau got him on that one.
Tommy Wiseau is better than Orson Welles. You heard it here, folks.
Oh, God.
All right. Before I say any more garbage takes, we're going to end it here.
Yeah, we probably should.
So watch The Brood. It's on HBO. It's good. We recommend it. And thanks for listening.